A pit crew challenge has been implemented in qualifying. The manufacturers will have to team up and compete against each other, and NASCAR adds a promotional caution to this year's All-Star race. Let's break down the 2025 NASCAR All-Star race format. Hello everybody, welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host Alex Lambert, and let's talk about the 2025 NASCAR All-Star race format. A lot to get into, a lot of things that are maybe exciting, some things that we've seen in the past, some things that are completely new that we'll have to follow during this year's All-Star event. And let's go ahead and get right on into it. I want to start out by saying I still don't have my light yet back in. The previous one broke. I still have another one coming in, but it should be ready for Talladega, so I'll have to do some stuff to make the lighting look a little better when editing and uploading the video, so bear with me on that one. But anyway, we have a lot to get into, and let's just start out with eligibility, right? Let's go through the entire list of how to break down this All-Star race, because there's a lot to break down. Let's start out by how you get into this year's All-Star race. And the eligibility is if you've won a race in 2024 or 2025, a Cup Series race, you are automatically eligible for this year's All-Star event, right? That's certainly something that we've seen in years past. Previous champions of the sport and all-star race winners of the sport that are full-time this year are also eligible, right? So that puts some names in there that could previously or could otherwise not be in. So certainly your big name drivers will all be in the all-star race. That's certainly something to keep in mind. That's how you are automatically eligible for the all-star race this year. I want to go into the all-star open, right? That's the race that gets you in to the all-star race. Every driver that's competing to get in that is not already eligible will race in the all-star open. That's a 100-lap race before the all-star race. I think that's scheduled, the all-star race is at like 8 o'clock. The open would be at 6 o'clock that same night right before the main event. So that's a 100-lap race. There will be a caution to come out around lap 40 is what NASCAR said in that race. So kind of like a competition caution on lap 40 of the All-Star Open. The first driver, the driver to win the All-Star Open, and the second place driver that finishes second in the All-Star Open will advance into the All-Star race. There will also be a fan vote winner, right? This is nothing new, done this in years past. A popular driver or most popular driver that weekend will win a fan vote, and he will go into the All-Star race. You can vote. I don't exactly know when that opens. That might already be open, but it'll certainly be open that weekend. Fox should promote it, and you can vote and let a driver in that way. So that would add 3 more drivers on top of everyone that's already eligible through the Open. Now, let's go into qualifying. How do you qualify for the Open and the All-Star race, right? This is exciting. We've done this in years past at Charlotte. This is something that NASCAR is bringing back. It's now a 3-lap qualifying session. So you have your first lap, you go around at full speed, whatever you can do to have your fastest lap. But on the second lap, you have to come down pit road. Once again, I'm assuming there's going to be no pit road speed either, which is exciting. Once again, this is a short track too, so it's a little more safe to do than at your 1.5 mile intermediate Charlotte Motor Speedway. The speeds will be lower coming onto pit road. You'll come onto pit road, get 4 tires, and then do another lap after that, right? So it would be total of 3 laps, and you take the time from all 3 laps, and that would determine the qualifying order of the race. Now, to determine the pit stall selection, there will be a pit crew challenge. The fastest pit stop, I'm assuming that's going to be when you enter pit road and leave pit road. I don't know if that would be just in the pit box. I think it would be from when you enter pit road to leave pit road. The fastest time there would win the pit crew challenge. That's what determines the pit stall selection. So that's a little odd, a little more complicated than maybe it needs to be, but that's something interesting that we'll be able to follow as fans throughout the week. So pit crew challenge winner gets to pit stall selection. That's how that would be decided for pit stall selection. But where you start on the grid is done through the entire total 3 laps, right? That time all added together. So it will be 60-lap heat races. That will determine where you start in the race. So once again, you're qualifying for the open and the heat races when you do qualify on that 3-lap run. You then go into the 60-lap heats. That determines where you'll start on Sunday night in the All-Star race. Let's get into the All-Star race format, right? They've added 50 laps. It's been previously 200-lap event, right? And you had a caution around lap 100, where you're still going to have your competition caution on lap 100. That's going to be your lap 100 break in the middle of the race, or somewhat close to the middle of the race. But once again, 50 laps has been added. And then NASCAR has added a competition caution that they're calling a promoter's caution. So it's going to be just completely random, and it could be from anywhere between lap 101 to lap 220. Certainly a bit interesting there. That's something we're going to have to follow. That's going to throw a caveat into these teams' hands. When will this caution come out? When will this affect things? Tire wear is probably going to be prevalent at this racetrack. That will change a lot of things about this NASCAR race, is you don't know when that caution is going to come out. Now, NASCAR also said, If a natural caution comes out after lap 200, so between lap 200 and 220, that would count as the promotional caution, and you wouldn't throw the promotional caution. You can only throw that between lap 100 and 220 if there's not a caution after lap 200. Once again, a little bit complicated. I think a typical fan watching this could have some trouble understanding that, but we'll have to just keep monitoring it as we go. Hopefully these rules are laid out very clearly going into this year's All-Star race. When we've tried things like this previously, the rules have not been laid out as clear, and there's been confusion with teams, broadcast members, fans. I just want to make sure that's completely avoided. I'll just make sure all this is communicated clearly and clearly laid out for everyone, including the fans, when we go into North Wilkesboro. And I think it can be. I don't think this is over the top complicated. It's a little complicated. It could be hard to follow for somebody just trying to, maybe a casual fan trying to watch, but hopefully this is something that can be followed and understood and entertaining while watching. Once again, whole point of the All-Star race, to be completely entertaining. So once again, that's how NASCAR would do it with the promoter's caution. I think it's certainly interesting. They also have added a manufacturer's challenge, which is something that I don't think we've seen in any previous All-Star races. None that I can remember, none that I've seen in recent years. But NASCAR would take all the manufacturers, Ford, Chevy, Toyota, those three, and they would have a manufacturer's challenge amongst themselves, right? This could be something interesting to follow as well. Hopefully Fox, this would be their last race of the season. Hopefully Fox does a good job showing this as well, because this could be exciting to a lot of fans as well, even casual fans. So what we would do is the least amount of manufacturers team. Let's say Toyota has 5 cars. Let's just make numbers up here. Has 5 cars in the All-Star race. They might already have more than that, but let's just say they have 5. So every manufacturer would have 5 cars, their top 5 cars competing for this manufacturer's championship, right? And the least amount of points finishes or positions that you finish, so the winner's going to have 1, I'm assuming second place would count as 2. The least amount wins the All-Star Manufacturers Champion, right? If there is a tie for the lead, it would go to the top finisher, right? So if it's a tie and then the winner was a Toyota and that was one of the 2 teams tied, Toyota would obviously win the event. So once again, the least amount of manufacturers, it could be 5, it could be 7, I'm not too sure, however that lands out, would be the total amount that every manufacturer would use. Once again, a little complicated maybe for a casual fan or somebody that's sort of halfway watching, but I think that's something that could be simple to follow. Once again, if the broadcast does a solid job, I think these rules are definitely a little complicated, but if we can have FS1, Fox do a solid job at explaining this, keeping track of it, showing grids, showing things on the broadcast that explain this well, this could be very easily understood by the fans, and I hope that's something that Fox does. I tried to do my best job at explaining it here on Dirty Air. I think I did a solid job explaining everything, tried to get into all of it. Once again, a little complicated. I don't think this is insane. I think teams, especially super intelligent engineers and drivers, should be able to understand the rules very clearly from what I understand so far. Hopefully the broadcast does a solid job at explaining this to the fans and bringing it, into the living room, right? So casual fans, race fans, and all can understand what's going on and enjoy the All-Star race. This seems like a format, once again, complicated enough, but I think it does seem like a format that can be understood. A little complicated, but it can be understood and it can be enjoyed, right? So I don't want to be too critical of the All-Star race format. It's way more simple than the 2016 where you can put tires on, you can't put tires on. Whole bunch of complicated scenarios. The Ryan Blaney incident in 2022 where we threw a caution like a foot before the checkered flag instead of the white. I don't think we're going to have any of those issues this year with this format. I just hope it's explained well through the TV lenses, right, to the fans in their living room. But that's it, really, all there is to talk about today. Certainly, I'll do a race review following Talladega on Sunday night. That should be a very exciting race finish. It should be a very exciting race throughout the day. We'll probably see some fuel saving, which is certainly maybe an interesting tactic that's been added to Talladega, but that's certainly it. All there is to talk about, and of course, let's get rowdy.